Tathagata Nahat, completely perfect Buddha, great victor Shakyamuni Lord, to you we bow, go for refuge, and offer gifts so please bless us. Guru founder bless.
Oh, how are you? So you'll have to move it a bit forward. Hello. Testing, testing, 2, 2, 2. Just slap them. Yeah, but we do prayers first, don't we? Because they want to be. You need it.
O Blessed One, Shakyamuni Buddha, precious treasury of compassion, bestower of supreme inner peace, you who love all beings without exception, are the source of happiness and goodness, and you guide us to the liberating path. Your body is a wish-fulfilling jewel. Your speech is supreme purifying nectar, and your mind is refuge for all living beings. With folded hands I turn to you, supreme unchanging friend. I request of my mind, and to heal my mental continuum. Please nourish me with your goodness, that I in turn may nourish all beings with an unceasing banquet of delight. Through your compassionate intention, your blessings and virtuous deeds, and my strong wish to rely upon you, may all suffering quickly cease, and all happiness and joy be fulfilled, and may holy Dhamma flourish forevermore. I and all sentient beings, until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings, until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings, until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. May everyone be happy. May everyone be free from misery. May no one ever be separated from their happiness. May everyone have equanimity, free from hatred and attachment. In the space before me is the living Buddha Shakyamuni, surrounded by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, like the full moon surrounded by stars. With my body, speech, and mind, humbly I prostrate, and make offerings both set out and imagined. I confess my wrong deeds from all time, and rejoice in the virtues of all. Please stay until samsara ceases, and turn the wheel of Dharma for us. I dedicate all virtues to great enlightenment. The ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers, the great mountain for land, sun and moon, seen as a Buddha land and offered thus. May all beings enjoy such pure lands. I offer without any sense of loss the objects that give rise to my attachment, hatred, and confusion, my friends, enemies, and strangers, our bodies and enjoyments. Please accept these and bless me to be released directly from the three poisons. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. The path begins with strong reliance on my kind teacher, source of all good. Oh, bless me with this understanding to follow him with great devotion. This human life with all its freedoms extremely rare, with so much meaning. Oh, bless me with this understanding all day and night to seize its essence. My body like a water bubble decays and dies so very quickly. After death come results of karma, just like the shadow of a body. With this firm knowledge and remembrance, bless me to be extremely cautious, always avoiding harmful actions and gathering abundant virtue. Samsara's pleasures are deceptive, give no contentment, only torment. So please bless me to strive sincerely to gain the bliss of perfect freedom. Oh, bless me so that from this pure thought come mindfulness and greatest caution, to keep as my essential practice the doctrine's root, the Pratimoksha. Just like myself, all my kind mothers are drowning in samsara's ocean. Oh, so that I may soon release them, bless me to train in bodhicitta. But I cannot become a Buddha by this alone, without three ethics. So bless me with the strength to practice the Bodhisattva's ordination, by pacifying my distractions and analyzing perfect meanings. Bless me to quickly gain the union of special insight and quiescence. When I become a pure container through common paths, bless me to enter the essence practice of good fortune, the supreme vehicle Vajrayana. The two attainments both depend on my sacred vows and my commitments. Bless me to understand this clearly and keep them at the cost of my life. By constant practice in 4 sessions, the way explained by holy teachers. Oh, bless me to gain both the stages which are the essence of the Tantras. May those who guide me on the good path and my companions all have long lives. Bless me to pacify completely all obstacles, outer and inner. May I always find perfect teachers and take delight in holy Dhamma. Accomplish all grounds and pass swiftly and gain the state of Vajradhara. From the hearts of all the holy beings, streams of light and nectar flow granting blessings and purifying.
You're going to let me fly solo here? No, that's the hot seat there. Always the best way. Especially if it's a woman telling you to sit there. Okay, good evening everyone. Hope you can hear me. I've got the mic really close. Is that okay? Yeah? Cool. So tonight's class we're going to look at wishing love, and then Eddie's going to do accept and defeat and offering the victory. So, wishing love. Even if someone I have helped and of whom I have had great hopes nevertheless harms me intentionally, may I see him or her as my holy spiritual guide. So it says here, the main purpose of this verse is to teach us how to develop and improve our experience of wishing love. In general, there are 3 types of love: affectionate love, cherishing love, and wishing love. We need to develop these 3 types of love to all living beings, without exception. Dun, dun, dun. Without exception. That's the word I got there. So how to develop wishing love? We need to develop wishing love by contemplating how these living beings, whom we cherish so dearly, lack true happiness. Everyone wants to be happy, but no one in samsara experiences true happiness. In comparison with the amount of suffering they endure, the happiness of living beings is rare and fleeting. Sound familiar? Buddha called the pleasurable feelings the result from worldly enjoyments, changing suffering because they are simply the experience of temporary reduction of manifest suffering. If we increase the cause of our worldly happiness, our happiness will gradually change into suffering. And then he goes on to describe how this happens, but I won't go through all that. Just as a true cause of suffering can never give rise to happiness, so a true cause of happiness can never give rise to pain. Not only is worldly pleasure not only true happiness, but it also does not last. People devote their lives to acquiring possessions and social standing and building up a home and a family and a circle of friends, but when they die, they lose everything. So Buddha then gives a little verse which is very helpful to learn if you can memorize it. It's only 4 lines. The end of collection is dispersion. The end of rising is falling. The end of meeting is parting. The end of birth is death. Buddha compared living in samsara to sitting on top of a pin. No matter how much we try to adjust our position, it will always be painful. So then we get a little meditation. It says, how wonderful it would be if all living beings attained pure and everlasting happiness of enlightenment. May they attain this happiness. I myself will work for this aim. So meditation on love is very powerful. Wishing love is also called immeasurable love, because merely through meditating on wishing love, we will receive immeasurable benefits in this life and in countless future lives, even if our concentration is not very strong. that really resonated with me sometimes, because even if your concentration's not very strong, you'll get immeasurable merit. And then it goes on to give the list of by meditating on affectionate love what we can gain, but I won't go through all of them because it take too long. So then we go on to transforming adverse conditions into the path. When things are going well and people are kind and treating us with respect, it's not so difficult to wish for them to be happy. When someone we have helped or repays us our kindness by harming us, instead of getting angry, we should try to see that person as a spiritual teacher. So these are the last two lines of the verse. And this is like a little meditation. The only reason people harm me is because I have created the cause for them to do so through my previous negative actions. These people are teaching me about the law of karma. By deceiving me and repaying my help with harm, they are reminding me that in the past I deceived and harmed others. They are betraying me only because I betrayed them or others in previous lives. They are encouraging me to purify my negative karma and to refrain from harmful actions in the future. How kind they are. They must be my spiritual guide, emanated by Buddha Amitabha. By thinking in this way, we transform a situation that would normally give rise to anger or self-pity into a powerful lesson in the need for purification and moral discipline. Or alternatively, we can think, this experience shows me that there is no certainty in samsara. Everything changes, friends become enemies, and enemies become friends. This is because in samsara, everyone is controlled by their delusions, and no one has any freedom. This situation is encouraging me to abandon samsaric rebirth. So that's pretty much it, really. I won't go through the whole thing because there's lots and lots of different ways Geshe describes in how to transform adverse conditions. So I'll leave it there, and if anyone's got anything that they want to bring up that I haven't read, or they want to ask a question, feel free.
Hi, Gogden. I want to ask a question, love. On where are we? So just before the transforming adverse conditions bit, that paragraph before, Geshe says most relationships between people are based on a mixture of love and attachment. This is not pure love because it's based on a desire for our own happiness. Like most relationships, definitely they're entwined, aren't they? I think. Well, in my experience. So if you meet someone, like I've met someone before, I don't know, I'm going around the houses, my question, but I've met a woman and got in a relationship with her and thought, I'm not going to get attached. I can see it coming, I'm not going to get attached. And then within a second, I'm like, but what about me, And you know what I mean? So how can we differentiate between love and attachment, and how can we stop? How can we peel away the attachment, get rid of the attachment, and so we can just have a relationship, That's me, question.
Okay, Eddie, that was a very good question. But you're asking an ordained people here. I've not had a relationship for many years. I'm joking. Yeah. One of the best ways I sort of differentiate if I'm getting attached, because we have friends, don't we, and we get attached strongly. So one of the main things I try to do is, if that was taken away, it would cause pain. So that's my way of checking attachment. If I've got a friend and they left, and I felt pain about that, That's the way I feel about if I'm not attached. If I don't mind, they can go to Timbuktu, and I'm quite happy. There's no attachment there. But like it says here, there's going to be mixed, both attachment and there's going to be, love. So your next part of the question was, how do we get rid of that? You know, I think right now at our level, we have to sort of be honest with ourselves and say, there's going to be attachment there. What we do is we practice, like the meditations that lead up to all this wishing love. We practice, having a warm and friendly attitude to everyone. So like we feel about our partner or our friend or our family, we try and feel the same to all of them. Let go of our own self-concern. Why do I need this person to make me happy when I can find happiness within myself? So we can try different ideas, different things, different methods in the book that it says, to learn to let go of our own self-cherishing. Because when we're grasping, when we get attached, it's our self-cherishing mind that does that. So if we practice in our meditation every day, then we will learn these minds. If we keep going over them every 21 days, we keep remembering that mind. This person, I think, is special, is not. Just the same as that person over there. So I treat them all the same with a warm and friendly attitude. Doesn't mean to say we hug and kiss them like our partner, but in our mind we hold a warm and friendly attitude to everyone without exception. Does that help? Would you like some more clarification? There we go.
Hold it close.
I think it's a very good question and a very honest question that you've offered up. By hearing it being discussed, I couldn't help but think that it's not so much keeping people at arm's length, which you would be at risk of doing if you were really trying to avoid attachment, having shallow relationships that you could just walk away from because I don't want to be attached. But I think from, the readings that we've done and the conversation that's just been had so far, it popped into my mind that want to have or try and have a relationship where I want to make you happy, where the relationship isn't about making me happy. And for me, that might be the definition of non-attachment or not becoming attached. So when we've heard things being discussed or commented on when we were reading the book, where somebody might want to go and do something or be somewhere else, and take the extreme example that we gave when we were reading the book where somebody wants to be with someone else, but the attachment would be to force them to stay with you, to make you happy. But non-attachment might be to let them do what makes them happy because you want to make them happy. And that was the only thing that I wanted to offer up, really. And hopefully that makes some sense. Does that make sense? Okay. But I'm not pretending to know it all. It'll be perfect. I picked some of this out of mini discussions that we had when we were actually reading the section. So don't attribute all this to me.
Oh, I was just going to say that, it's extremely difficult to avoid having attachment if we're in a one-to-one relationship. And in any kind of relationship, there's some attachment arises until we become a superior bodhisattva, till we realize emptiness of all phenomena. But the thing is, you just got to recognize that there will be some attachment, but not beat yourself up about it. And just realize, oh yeah, there's some pain going on here, there's some discomfort going on here, because this person that I'm loving wants to go somewhere else. And yeah, just think, well, how can I use this pain? It reminds me that I'm stuck in samsara, I'm still in samsara. I need to make stronger efforts to get out, to realize emptiness and practice 3 higher trainings. Yeah, I think that's the best thing we can do, and just accept that we're going to experience attachment and then keep trying. Never give up.
Do we have any more questions? Anyone online? Got any points they want to make? Go ahead.
Someone said you should love it like an ice cream cone. So what was my question again? Oh yeah, why do we seek happiness from worldly pleasures?
So Talopa's question was, why do we seek happiness from worldly pleasures? I think because it's an easy route. It's an easier route than trying to train our mind, and they're quick. They seem to fulfill our desires quickly. Say we're lonely, and we go out the pub, and we have a pint with our friends, we feel, oh yeah, that's satiated my desire. Instead of trying to think, well, why do I get lonely? What's going on in my mind? Am I attached to being with others? So we don't train our mind, we just go for quick fixes. Worldly things are quick fixes, but they deceive us, because they'll always let us down in the end. I love white chocolate, but I know if I eat too much of it, I'm going to be sick. But I still haven't learned that yet, because I'm still eating white chocolate, and I still go to the point where I'm nearly sick. And I think we just have to keep falling down and hurting ourselves sometimes, till we learn that these pleasures are deceptive. They're not going to fulfill our wishes. So I think that's why it's a habitual habit that we've had in our previous lives, to go to these things, to go to pleasure. We're a desire realm beings, we live in a desire realm. So we will like nice things, we like nice scents, nice touch, nice smells, nice feelings, nice beauty. So we will be attracted to these things, because we're desire realm beings. But the thing with Buddha is, he's tried to say to us, these are deceptive things, they won't, fulfill our happiness in the long run. So that's, I think we go to them because, for me, it's an easy fix. It's quicker to turn on the telly to dumb my mind down than to do a meditation. It's a lot harder to sit on your meditation cushion and think, I'm going to train my mind here, and think, why is my mind going like this now? Oh no, I'll just turn Coronation Street on, and I'll go into someone else's world, forget mine. So I think, to me, they're just easy fixes, and we don't get any real happiness from them in the end. Does that help, or do you want some more clarification?
Oh, hello. I'm a bit nervous about microphones, so to get used to it. I've been thinking about attachment quite a lot, just being really aware that when I'm getting attached to things, particularly people, because I think that's really, really strong sometimes, and the different stages. So when we have the three objects, the three poisons. So every time we see an object, we either we either get attached to it, or we have aversion to it, or we're neutral to it. It's impossible to kind of do any of those other things other than those three. So when we get, I was looking at the stages for attachment, and the first phase is that we have, I think it's pleasant feelings from them, and then we then secondly, we exaggerate those qualities. So we kind of obsess about the nice feelings, and we sort of blow it out of all proportion in a way. So I was sort of watching myself do that, and sort of knowing that I was sort of, it's almost like an addiction, and then you get kind of, you sort of crash after that. So it's, you sort of know where it's going, but you can't, it's difficult to kind of to not go down that route. So then the fourth stage is we become kind of attached to the object. It's described as like a stickiness, so we're sort of bound to it, so therefore we have desirous attachment, and that's, but to not do that, it is really, I don't know, is the answer to that. It's really hard to watch yourself do it, isn't it?
Yeah, but we still keep doing it. We still keep going after worldly things, not even thinking about improving our mind or looking for better solutions. But and I often think that the reason why we do this is we tend to regard ourselves as physical beings who happen to have a mind. But the most important thing is our physical and sensory awarenesses, and we look constantly looking for sensory pleasures. So we're not thinking about, what's my future life going to be like? Because if we were to think of ourselves as a spiritual or mental being, who this time around happens to have this particular body, but in previous lives we had a different body. In future lives we'll have a different body again. But we tend not to think about that. We tend to think, oh, here I am, just physical. And I have some mental experiences as well, but mainly just physical. And so when we think about that, when this physical entity is finished with, then it's almost like there's nothing left. We tend to think this nihilism, that when our body dies, that's it. We're finished. But so, in Buddhism, we practice Buddhism, we tend to develop a different view that there are past and future lives. And so we need to provide for the future life and hold back on trying to satisfy all these sense awarenesses. And so we become less attached. There's a less incentive to be attached. And a bigger incentive just to hold back and look for happiness inside.
I remember Genlo Kenrab said once about samsara. He said he went to a prison to see a prison officer and see some of the prisoners there. And he asked one of the prisoners, are you looking forward to getting out? You're nearly getting out? And he said, no, not really. Because he felt comfortable in that environment. He felt comfortable with it. And like Gentalopas just sort of reminded me, it's like we feel comfortable in samsara. It's not nice. Sometimes we don't like it, but we know it, and we feel comfortable. And sometimes, if we want to become a spiritual being, like you say, we need to step out of that comfort zone. We need to Like coming here, you know, is a big scary thing for people because they step out the comfort zone to come and meditate. You know, and we need to do that. We need to step out our comfort zone and say, are you really happy? Have you been happy all your previous lives? Probably not. And we need to be like that, you know, let go samsara. Any other questions from anyone? Points?
Thank you. It's not actually a question, but when I talk to my friends, they will say, well, samsara is a miserable place to be. It's that all sounds a bit depressing. And, you know, how you know, and you've just said, you want to, we obviously want to provide for our future lives, so, and hold back on our outward happiness, but in this day and age, sometimes you want to hold on to something, otherwise you get really depressed and down and low. And then I find it hard to have this conversation when my friends, they say, well, you know, why are you hanging around if this samsara is such an absolutely awful place? You know, and I find it hard to explain to them. I find it hard myself sometimes because I've got to find happiness somewhere to keep myself going sometimes, you know, with all the horrible things that you hear that are going on in this day and age. So what do you think I could possibly say to my friends, relatives and children, you know, because they say, well, samsara is an absolutely awful place, why are you hanging around, type thing. And I know that through the teachings we have to work through samsara because for a better life in the future. But I do get confused and struggle with that at times.
So yeah, so we do find it sometimes hard to explain to our friends when we know these teachings intellectually, but we don't actually engage in them because we haven't reached that level. I think sometimes, like, you know, it's hard to explain samsara to people because they're just in it. They haven't even realised that there's another way. You know, when I first started in the centre, I hear, and I said, like, you know, I'm at the bottom of the ladder here of everything, you know, there's lots of steps I've got to climb to get to where I want to be happy without any external conditions making me happy. And the person said, you've found the ladder. You know, so we've found a way out. And it's hard sometimes for people who are really stuck in samsara, who really don't know about, you know, how they can get away from it. And also, like, as well, it's hard to say to people sometimes, you know, this, you know, when you teach these teachings, you know, when I teach in the class and you think, I'm just going to send them out depressed because I'm saying everything's horrible and nothing will bring you happiness. And I say, there is a good bit at the end. Because we know as Buddhists, and even if we don't practice it, we know as Buddhists, happiness comes from within. That's all we need to know. Happiness comes from within. It doesn't come from external things. But like I always say in the class, Buddha's not trying to make us into miserable, depressed people, because we can enjoy the moments we have of happiness. You know, if we go out for a nice meal, enjoy it. But just remember and use it as a teaching, thinking, this is never going to last. I can't keep going to the Greek restaurant and having masaka every day, because it's not going to last, you know, I can't keep doing that. So it's going to end, you know, I can't keep, you know, eating white chocolate all day because I'm going to be sick. So in the end, we see that every samsaric pleasure, people, things, you know, enjoyments, they never last. They're all fleeting, like he says in there. They're all fleeting. And we know eventually, you know, the light bulb will go on in our head and we'll go, wow, happiness comes from within. That's where it comes from here. It doesn't come from out there. Or who's with us or anything. It comes from within. And I think that's what we need to hold in our minds. But like, I do appreciate what you're saying, you know, because people don't understand why you follow certain teachings, why you have a religion, even some people these days. And I know sometimes it gets hard, because we, you know, we will go out and reach for, you know, the ice cream when we're depressed or something like that. But we need to think and train ourselves, like when we're on a diet. You know, I'm diabetic, and I love Reese's peanut butter cups. I'm addicted to them. But when I go down the aisle, I'm like, no, don't put your hand there. Leave it alone. And that's what we have to learn as Buddhists, as training our mind. We have to learn, stop going to worldly enjoyments because they won't solve your problem. Sit with your mind. That'll be the best way you can train and think, I won't get depressed. Sit with your mind and think, what is this trying to teach me? How can I use this beneficial? And how can I not, this situation not drag me down? You know, so that's the way I sort of look at it. But if anyone else has got some more clarification. Yep.
Just to reiterate really what Cogman said, but when they say samsara's that bad, why are you hanging round? Well, you're not hanging round. Oh yeah, you're here. You know, you come to classes and you're trying to train your mind and you're trying to improve, so you're not hanging round. You know, you found a door out, and how do you turn a handle? By this. You are coming to turn the handle to open the door. So you're not hanging around by any stretch. They're hanging around, you're not, you're out. You found a path out. And this is how you're doing it. You know, by studying, by trying to put it into practice, by trying to train your mind, by trying to improve yourself, by trying to reduce your delusions and improve your good qualities. So you're far from hanging around. Do you know?
Yeah, just also, this chapter is about training in love and wishing love. So the more we train, the more attachment diminishes. Here Shantideva said, all the happiness in the world comes from a mind wishing others to be happy. And that's, if we can just remember that, get that tattooed on your wrist, so as soon as you feel any discomfort, oh yeah, I just wish others to be happy. You don't necessarily have to spend every lunchtime with them, but you just wish them to be happy. Even people that you think has done you wrong. And even someone I have helped and of whom I had great hopes, nevertheless harms me. Just wish them to be happy. And that's just training in having a mind of love, and the more we train like that, the more we overcome, and the more we're better able to distinguish between love and attachment.
Yeah, I relate to what you said, because it's quite hard, isn't it, sometimes when you do feel like you have this inside knowledge and it gives you like a different perspective on the world, and you just start seeing like attachment and anger everywhere around you, and it's like, oh my God. But like, I try to see that for me as like a reflection of what's within me as well. And my go-to is just to kind of withdraw from the world and isolate and think to myself, I just need to meditate forever. But actually really the real learning for me and like the real spiritual development is being in samsara and being, I don't know if I'm like talking out of term, but being like in these challenging situations. I almost booked a flight to the West Bank the other day. Maybe that's taken it a little bit too far, but what is in my world is like a colleague at work, for example, who I admired for whatever reason, I'm not quite sure why, and then we spent some time together, and she was like, she made me feel quite good. So then I wasn't so much attached to her that I was attached to the way that she made me feel. But then the next morning she was in a mood and she wasn't giving me the behaviors that made me feel good anymore, right? So then my go-to is to, oh, well, I'm not talking to her, I'm withdrawing, I don't want to, and I'm angry towards her, why aren't you making me feel like that anymore? But what I've had to do, or what I did today, is just kind of try and practice. Well, I'll spend time with her anyway, even though she's not like giving me what I think I need. And it's not easy, is it, being in that discomfort and being in that, you know, that it's uncomfortable. It's like the pin, isn't it? You're like on the pin. But yeah, I guess that's the practice for me, is kind of, you know, seeing why is that? Why am I feeling like that? And can I be around this person and respect this person and love this person, even when they don't give me like what I think I need? So yeah, I think I'm not really attached to people or things or whatever. I'm attached to the way they make me feel, and that kind of changes on any given day. So they're not really the problem, are they? Like, it's me, and like, yeah.
So yeah, so a lot of good ideas there. I think. Do you say anything? Yeah.
When we have attachment, we're concerned about our own feelings. But if we're loving someone, we're more concerned about their feelings. So just forget about your own feelings and just think of theirs.
Yeah, it's like Buddha says, isn't it? He says, like, you know, when we're with others, we're the least and they're the most important. So yeah, so we need to, you know, when we're with our friends, you know, and people that aren't into Buddhism, and they start to challenge us about what we think and how we live, we can also say, like, if we've got a good friendship, we can say, well, is your way of living making you happy? You know, challenge them on it. If they want to challenge you, you challenge them, give it, you know, say, is your way of living making you happy? Because I know this is leading me to freedom. Like Eddie said, we're leading ourselves to freedom, even if it's just one tiny little millimetre each day. We're going to get there in the end, like the fellow with the feather, you know, stroking the stone. Eventually he'll make a mark, and, you know, we just encourage ourselves, that's the thing. Just keep encouraging ourselves all the time, saying, I'm coming to class. How many people in Liverpool are sitting here now? None, not many. You know, if people saw Buddhist teachings as a true cause of happiness, this place would be full. And but we've learnt, we know. We can't get it perfect yet, but we're trying. Like Eddie said, we're trying. And like Geshe says, try until we die. And then we try again. So, any more?
On Wish and Love, the fourth to end, fourth paragraph, you know, Geshe says, our normal reaction when faced with a problem is to try and find someone to blame. But if we look at the situation with wisdom, we'll realise we created the cause of that problem through our negative actions. So how can we become convinced, like when a negative thing happens, that we've created the causes for that? How can we become convinced in karma, really, and that we've created the causes for that?
So what you're saying is, how do we become convinced that we're responsible for our own actions? It's not a nice thing, but what we can say to ourselves, well, I'm learning these ideas. Everything I do has an effect. So from that, I can learn that if I'm horrible to someone, if I say a nasty thing, that's going to come back to me. And we just have to really firmly but start to believe it. You know, and we can recheck, you know, in our lives, what did I do to cause this? You know, it's probably something we did way back in our other lives. But what you're saying is, like, you know, Geshe-la's trying to say to us, take responsibility for yourself. He's not trying to blame. This is what people think with karma, you know, when we see a miserable situation, we blame someone else. And it's their fault because they said that to me. Or, you know, they did that action. But Geshe and Buddha are trying to teach us karma is a tool we can use to explain when things go wrong. We created the causes, and we accept that. And like you say, it's not nice to accept something that you're responsible for. But if we're going to be adults and grown-ups and spiritual beings, then we have to really take responsibility for our own actions. No one else created them. No one else made us do it. We did it from our own bat, and now we have to accept that and say, I'll take that on board. If we don't accept it and just keep blaming others, we're just going to stay stuck in the same place, pointing the finger out. And like someone said, when you're pointing the finger out, there's 3 pointing back at you. So we have to take responsibility. I think that's what, for me, that's what I do when something goes wrong and I want to blame someone or say it's their fault or they're talking like that or they're doing this. It's not them. It's you. It's coming from your mind. You created it and it's coming from your mind, and that's how we see the world, don't we? We know, even intellectually, this is how we can see the world. You know, it's coming from our own mind. And if I'm seeing it like that, I have to check my mind. If I'm seeing it like in a bad way and blaming others for the world and my life's like, then I have to check myself and say, no, that's not correct. And Buddha's not trying to be horrible. It's just he's being kind. He's being truly kind. Like a true friend would say to you, hang on a minute, you know, if you do that, that's what's going to happen to you. And you're going to suffer. That's what a true friend does. A false friend will pat you on the back and say, oh yeah, everything's okay with you. Yeah, you tell him what for and go and give him what for, and, you know, but that's not correct. Because then we're just creating more and more negative actions for ourselves as well in the future. So if we do get angry with someone and we think that's not fair, they shouldn't be saying that. What we know is, if we've studied some of these teachings, we know if we react in a negative way, it's just going to perpetuate that cycle. So no one else, we have got to cut the ribbon and say, no, break the chain, like break the samsaric chain. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do that. That's always led me down that road. Keeps you trapped in a cycle. This is the time, now is the time. I'm going to stop and not react in that way and convince yourself. Because you know, you'll suffer. You mightn't feel it in this life, so you think, oh, it's not going to affect me. But if you really start to study and meditate on these teachings, you will get a feeling, I'm not going to do that again. Because that's great suffering for me now in the future. So I'm going to protect my future lives by behaving in correct, understanding the correct way of doing things. But I'm sure you want some more clarification on that one.
Because if we were truly convinced, we wouldn't do any negative actions at all, would we? We'd be on guard constantly, you know.
But I think it's partly an issue of faith in Buddhist teachings, and karma's like part of the package deal when you when you sign up. But also, how does our faith grow? I mean, it's not a binary thing. It's not either zero faith and complete faith. It's something that grows incrementally as we gain experience of trying to put Buddhist teachings into practice. So, if we read about karma, and gosh, I'm not sure about this, but just check how we feel when we don't respond to someone else's aggression or insults or bad behavior or whatever, and how we just hold ourselves back. And the purpose of thinking about karma is so we can practice moral discipline. And so, if we just trying to behave better, just over time, we can ask ourselves, well, how am I feeling as a result of doing this? And I think generally we feel better. We experience more peace because we don't get into fights all the time. But we can stop. You can just make a determination. I'm not going to punch anybody else in the face again.
We can read it. Yeah, I have been in a choir for a year now, and it's becoming a bit clicking. And my friend mentioned this as was thinking of dropping out, and I said, take why you like, take why. Well, she's put what? Take what you like, and leave the rest, which changes her mind to stay happy in the choir. Yeah, it's a good point, that, Linda. Yeah, thank you. That's take what you want. You know, sometimes in Buddhism, even with things we take, like when I first started, someone says, take what feels familiar, take what feels good, and just put the rest on the shelf for a little while. And as we grow and our mind becomes more and more convinced in what Buddha's saying, then we think, oh, that karma thing, that's got something about it, that, because he's trying to protect me. You know, he's trying to make me not do wrong things, and he's trying to make me look at a situation in a different way. And we can see that, can't we? We know that when we try in our own lives. If we look at a situation with a different mind, you know, we've got a nice peaceful mind and a situation happens, we sort of stay peaceful, and we can walk through that situation in a different way than when we're angry or frustrated with someone. You know, so we can see, you know, we don't have to blame. There's no blame in karma, and this is the big thing that people need to get across. Like, there's no blame. It's an advice. When someone's giving us advice, we listen strongly, don't we? Like, say we've gone to a stockbroker and we want to invest our money. We listen to what he says, and he says, you know, don't do that, because you lose all your money there, but put them there. And that's what Buddha's trying to protect us, giving us advice to stop us getting caught up, you know, and creating suffering for the future. And like Gentalopa said, it is like teaching us to practice moral discipline, because we're like, oh, I know you used to steal the pens from work, but that's it. That's not a good idea, because what am I stealing? I'm stealing from someone. It's bad karma. So we can change. I used to kill insects all the time. My mum taught me to. She said, just get them, just whack them with a newspaper. You know, as a child, I was taught that. And then when I came here and learned all living beings are equal, not that I've got a realisation of that, but I thought, oh my goodness, what have I done there? I killed loads of living beings, and I thought, I'm not going to ever do that again. I don't even try and catch them and let them out, because I can't see, and I end up squishing them with the glass. So I just leave them be now in my room, and they can fly around, do whatever they want, go out, because I think, you know, that they're just a living being. And I used to think to myself, I also came to the conclusion there's far more insects in this planet than human beings, so who has more right to be here? The insects. Because they were here before me. And I'm saying, oh, you get off now because I don't like it. No. So, I mean, we can think, you know, how to change our lives, or even like I was taught that by my mum. You know, you think your mum's being correct with you, but you think, no, I won't do that. I'll stop doing that. I think Buddha's got more wisdom than my mum. So, yeah. Thanks everyone for the questions.
Thanks, Cogden.
right? I'm doing the chapter accepting defeat and offering the victory. So where when others out of jealousy harm me or insult me, may I take defeat upon myself and offer them the victory. Hello. So Gessler explains, like having we've been developing love and compassion. We've got experience of that now with the previous verses. So now it's time to start putting it into practice, basically, So when others harm us or insult us, with our minds abiding in love, we accept, and don't retaliate. So when like objects and inanimate objects or people cause us problems in our life, if that ever happens, and we've done everything we can to solve it or stop it or whatever, and we can't, then we've just got to accept. We've got to patiently accept, haven't we? And accept our karma, basically, Goethe says, like, enduring suffering isn't the practice of taking, like we're going to do taking and giving next. He says it's not the practice of taking, but, it's good training for it, because if we can't bear our own suffering, we're never going to take on the suffering of others. We're not going to be able to bear theirs, And then Dharma Rakshasa, there's a quote there. Dharma Rakshasa says, a person who accepts samsaric enjoyments but cannot accept suffering will experience many problems. But a bodhisattva who accepts suffering courageously will always be happy. So, Geshe Talk says, like, samsara, this experience of samsara is created by self-grasping or self-grasping ignorance. So we need to purify this. Now, like, we find acceptance hard, patient acceptance hard, because we cherish ourselves, because of self-cherishing. That's why it's hard to accept suffering. But, Gesta says, but we're only one. But our self-cherishing thing makes us think we're so important. But we're only one compared to all living beings, Gesta goes on to say how, we need acceptance, patient acceptance, but we need wisdom as well, because he gives the example of the person who found a large fish, and tried to save it and put it into a pond, and then it ended up eating all the little fish, and then the people were chocker with it and ended up killing a big fish anyway, So we need wisdom, because we can try and help and make things worse, because we don't know, really got no wisdom to know that. Gesta says we can even give up our life. Use the example of Yeshao, who, gave up his life. So Atisha went to Tibet, and so we're sitting here now because of his sacrifice, basically, But we need to be, obviously we need wisdom for that, don't we? Because, there's no point in laying down your life for nothing. Yeah, so we need to. So Gesta says, if it's going to benefit more people, we can even fight, to stop, because if we can benefit more people being alive and being on our spiritual path and being a bodhisattva and things, we can even, fight. So, like, Gesta he speaks about, like, we, try and please people and stuff. Go along with people and please people and stuff, and be, but if someone wants us to rob a bank, or your kids wants a fishing rod or a gun, air rifle, so we can shoot birds or something, obviously we have to say no. So we won't don't just blindly go along with others, He's also, like, we need time to practice, we need time to meditate. Gesta says it's not selfish taking time out, because this is how we, because we're doing it for others, aren't we? We're doing it for the benefit of others, so this is how we practice, Gesta also speaks about, he says, once we are harmed, we should accept it, but we should try and prevent it, so we don't just, like, lay down and You know, Beard Dormas, he uses the example of the guy who clobbered a dog with his Dharma book, because the dog was attacking him, so he clobbered the dog with his Dharma book. You know, but because the dog could have given him whatever, been rabid or given him a disease or whatever, you know, could have seriously impeded his practice. So he doesn't just you know, let the dog bite him, you know. So because his intention was that, he didn't incur any negativity using his Dharma book to clobber the dog with, you know. Because he was protecting his practice, basically, you know. Kester says as well, there's no point in, like, you know, enduring just for the sake of it. Like, so, you know, if you've got a toothache, take a paracetamol, you know. Don't sit there and grin and bear it. So if we can get treatment, yeah, get treatment, accept it, you know. Because there's no point in just needlessly enduring suffering. You know, he says, remain natural. Only that saying, remain natural while changing your aspiration. Also, people may think accepting defeat and offering a victory, if we do that all the time, it's just going to increase our suffering and our problems. But Kester says patience always reduces suffering and problems, because we don't add mental pain to the difficult circumstances that we're experiencing. You know, so we might have a challenging situation, but we haven't got the mental pain to go with it, you know. So if we can remain happy, then we haven't got a problem. I guess it says only a problem is just a set of circumstances looked upon with a negative mind. It doesn't say that in this text, but we said that in the past. So Kester goes on to say Buddhist practice is very gentle. You know, it's concerned with controlling and transforming our mind, the internal task of controlling and transforming our mind. And you know, he says there's many humble practitioners out there who no one's even heard of who are doing this, and he used the example of Kachin Sangye, who was a guy who had a copper pot, his most valuable possession, and the fella robbed his pot, and he's seen him, and he was mortified, the guy, but he said to him, you can have me pot, don't worry about it, you know, come use my pot, you can take anything of mine, use whenever you want, you know, you can use it. And people come to recognise him as a bodhisattva, this Kachin Sangye. So, in summary, Kester summarises in the last paragraph, he says, in summary, if we wish to help others, we need to be able to accept our problems. He says, you know, helping others isn't easy because it can involve hardship for us, and it can involve going against our self-cherishing mind. And unless we learn acceptance, patient acceptance, really our practice will, you know, it'll be half-hearted. You know, it won't be genuine. But once we accept our problems fully, we'll have the strength of mind to take on other suffering and to give happiness, which is the next chapter. Gradually, you know, we'll develop the realization of acceptance, defeat, and offering the victory, and nothing will be able to discourage us. And so say all of us.
Hello. I've got a question, but before I have a question, Sudhana knows that I've been chairing what I thought was going to be a meeting where I was going to get shouted at, and it was going to be really unpleasant. And I've been rereading these 2 chapters, and they're just mind-blowingly good. I've just had a lovely, lovely evening, and it's just like, and this guy, I was going, right, Ray, so what are the challenges? And I'm sure it's because of my aura and giving someone the opportunity, because I was prepared to just deal with being shouted at because I can't solve problems, and it was just lovely. So yes, it works. But my question is, you need wisdom as well as compassion to make sure you make the right decision, don't you? To make sure that you are accepting defeat and offering the victory, but not to the detriment of you being able to cherish all living beings. my concern being, how easy, or how do you make sure you've got that wisdom that doesn't say, "Ooh, I want to do this because it's for the benefit of all living beings," when it's not. You know, when self-cherishing, there's something sneaky about kind of. So, yeah, does that make sense? So, so you're not supposed. So you're supposed to accept defeat, offer victory. But I was just thinking, what if actually your no? So I don't have a specific example because I've only been thinking about it. But actually, your motivation isn't really about cherishing all living beings. It's really that it's more convenient for you. But I've only been thinking about it, so I don't have an example. Does that make more sense?
Yeah. I think that it's like over time our wisdom will develop, really, isn't it? The more we practice, you know. I think it's kind of at first, I think we do that, don't we? Even like you even get people like using Dharma as a thing, don't you? As a like, I had a friend who worked in Thailand who volunteered in a learner disability place, and he said it was like medieval. You know, they had like 50 people in a with learning disabilities, like in a big cage almost, and like they treat them terribly. And once a week they'd like hose them down like with a. And he said it was medieval. It was awful. And when he'd say to them, "Why are you treating them like this?" They'd say it's their karma, and you know we're helping them by mistreating them because it's their karma. You know, it's like in universal compassion. Don't turn God into a demon. That's what that's about, I think, isn't it? When in that. So it's we just need to, I think, you know, just try and practice, isn't it? I know it's probably not a very good answer, but and over time look at reflection, self-reflection, isn't it? And look at what our motivation is. You know.
You're right, though. It is time, and also, isn't it, your own practice? What was it when, in the chat, when he says, you think you're probably accepting defeat, you think practicing patience, it means you're going to have more troubles, but actually you have less, because with patience you have everything, isn't it? And actually, I suppose part of it is like my day to day has just demonstrated that actually if you put it into practice it works. But I suppose I'm just slightly concerned at the moment about how I make sure I've got the wisdom as well as the compassion. But it's a really good answer. Thanks, Ed. Well, it's nice to see you. Nice to have you back.
Anyone else got anything to say about that?
I think, like Lucy, we don't be too hard on ourselves neither, and we just think, I'm trying with what wisdom I know. I've learned so much, I've read the books. You know, when we first start, I didn't have any wisdom at all. I've got very little now. You just try. Again, it's trying, isn't it? And understanding, like, you know, we know when we're being sneaky. Let's be honest with ourselves. We know when our mind is saying, oh, you know, my mate's asking me to go to the pictures, so I won't go to FP tonight. But I'm still practicing Dharma because they really want me to go. When we know we could say to our friend, look, I'll go with you on Thursday when FP's not on. You know, so we got to really, this is what I love Buddhism about. It's hard, but we've got to really look in our mind and go, hang on a minute, I know what you're doing, self-cherishing, come on, let's stop it. We know we're all kidding ourselves and we can do it all the time, but where are we going to get when we do that? Where does it lead us? So we've got to think, you know, that's how our wisdom comes. We have to challenge ourselves all the time and say, you know, why are you going the pictures? Is that going to really help? Like the other week I had something to do with the interfaith, but I thought, there's FP on. So tonight I should be in the iftar with the Muslim people celebrating Ramadan. But I discussed it and I came to a conclusion, far better to be here. This is how I'm going to liberate people. You know, and I love going to interfaith stuff, I do, you know. But like, far better to be here if there's a class That's what's going to benefit living beings more. And it's nice to be, inclusive and, community and all that. But if it takes you away from your dharma, then you've got to sort of say to yourself, no, that's not real wisdom, doing that. I can do it all the time, So we have to just be really honest with ourselves. No one else is going to tell us. No one. It's us that have to take the responsibility again and say, me, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And we know when we're being sneaky. We know 5-year-old knows when they're doing something wrong. So we can't deny ourselves and make an excuse. Self-cherishing will. But do we listen to our self-cherishing mind, or do we go with wisdom? And gradually, our self-cherishing mind becomes weaker if we keep pushing it away. Like a bully, if you don't react, nowhere to go. We keep pushing it away, then we'll get that wisdom stronger. And if you get any wisdom, will you help me? Because I haven't got any.
I don't really know if I'm making the right decisions half the time, all the time. Just feel like I'm winging it completely and hoping for a bit of wisdom at some point in time. But I guess I don't always know when I'm being like when I'm being self-cherishing, or self-pity is a big one for me, and it just kind of comes over me, and I don't even know I'm in it until I get out of it, and then I look back and I'm like, oh wow. So that's what that was. But I guess in a way I kind of have to go through it in order to come out of it and be like, oh right, okay. Maybe like wisdom's a bit of hindsight, I guess, maybe for me. I mean, yeah, I don't know. But I certainly, yeah, I guess it takes courage to kind of make decisions, doesn't it? At the risk of making a mistake or and then suffering the consequences. But I mean, I'll talk about work again just because it's relevant to today. My supervisor is really distant. He's really he does his own thing and he doesn't really interact with anyone, and he's just very work oriented and not very team oriented. And because I'm a student, I kind of need feedback from him. So I entered into this kind of battle of wills with him, where I wanted the victory, right? I wanted him to become a supervisor who gave me loads of feedback, loads of praise, or at least a little bit of guidance. So I was in this battle with him. And just sitting here, actually, I gave him the victory at some point in time. I just said, okay, that's how you work. Thank you for the lesson of how to work with people that you don't agree with how they work. But sitting here now and thinking back, on a previous job, I was like that. And I was very militant in my practice, and I was very much I'm not here to make friends, I'm not here to socialize, I'm here to look after the patients. So I'm seeing in him how I used to be when I was kind of less sociable and less team oriented. So I guess there's a bit of karma, isn't it? I mean, I try not to. I've got enough karma from this life, to be honest, at this point in time. But yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. But I was in that for a long time of feeling sorry for myself because he wasn't the supervisor that I wanted. But then I just came to, just be grateful to him really for showing me how to, I don't know. Does that make any sense? I'm trying to summarize, but I've said it all already.
Now, I think is important, again, not to beat ourselves up, which is an aspect of self-cherishing anyway, because it's thinking, oh, I should be this great bodhisattva, but I messed up, so, we just get annoyed with our own performance, which is ridiculous. I mean, I think we just keep trying day by day, understanding that we're not, great bodhisattvas yet, but we're just in process. And while we're in process, we're going to, make mistakes. But if we develop, partly again, partly about faith. If we have faith in Buddha's teachings, then that's what we aspire to become a bodhisattva. We've taken bodhisattva vows, and we understand the practices. We've maybe read about the practices of a bodhisattva, and we just think, oh yeah, I want to do this, but I've got so many hang-ups and worldly concerns that it interrupts this process from time to time. We just keep bringing ourselves back to this, re-engage with the process. Like you're climbing a mountain and it gets really difficult. You're going to fall over. And it doesn't matter how many times you fall over. What is important is the number of times you pick yourself up. And it should be greater than the number of times you fall over. And if that's the case, then you'll eventually reach the top of the mountain. That's all you need to do. And not worry about the rest. You just do what we can and not worry about the rest. And that process of worrying is just another aspect of self-cherishing. Think we should be better than we are.
My question is, in terms of patient acceptance, if you're in a relationship or a situation where somebody is being negative towards you and you're trying to practice patience and you're aware that you need to work out your karma through that process, and if you take yourself away from that situation, you'll need to experience it again. So it's not going to go away until you kind of go through that process with your karma. So at what point would you say you should take yourself away from that relationship? And sometimes what if you can't do that? For example, if somebody at work.
I'd say at the point where you're having bad negative thoughts, delusions are arising, like anger or like this, or you want to poke them in the eye or whatever, then maybe that's the time, when you're not able to practice anymore because you're starting to become overwhelmed with delusion. And then I don't think there's anything wrong with withdrawing, and coming back to it, withdrawal, and just try and think, because it's just a case of thinking your way out of it, isn't it? You could maybe try a different angle, try and whatever, or just avoid them. Like remember Pende used to say, I love dogs, but I wouldn't go near a vicious one. So we, if we can avoid it until we've got the mental strength to maintain abide in love for them. That's what Esther says here, doesn't it? Abide in love, and then accept defeat and offer the victory to them. We can't do that, as I say, if we feel our delusions are overtaking us, then maybe that's time to bail. Anyone else want to say anything?
I'm not gonna answer that really. I'm gonna no, but hopefully hear me out. It's gonna try and form into something I want you to answer, Eddie. So it is. No, it's my experience. It's hopefully gonna end up in a what I mean. All right. Okay. So, I had a long-standing friendship relationship, not like a school one, best friend type situation. We ended up working together, and out of sort of respect for their position in the work environment and that friendship, looking back now, I overly practiced patience. I wouldn't have called it that at the time, probably tolerance or something else. To the point where I didn't realise until I slow walked over a long period of time into an abusive relationship. Abusive friendship relationship, not abusive, like romantic relationship. But I slow walked into that over a long period of time, and that's what brought me here. That's what brought me here. Ultimately. So I don't know whether with time passing now, whether I look back on that and not see it. I don't know whether it's almost just after about 3 years now that maybe I can look back on that and say, well, that had some value. Maybe it had some value, because that's what brought me here. And so that's why I'm saying that doesn't answer. It's not looking to be an answer. I'm kind of sharing my experience, and then if somebody hopefully it's on point. It's not away from that. But that's my experience. And just to finish off that story, I walked in and I met you, and you got me to come into a class, and here I am.
And then go back to Eddie. At the time, though, goes back to my question and me. So I'm just thinking it's a bit of self-cherishing whizzing around this room, but it's wisdom, isn't it? So actually, it brought you here now, which is great karma. That's good. But I'm not sure. It sounds how you're processing it that I don't know. It feels to me you might still have some issues in terms of to think through, but. So you're saying, so I'm just thinking for who's online, that it was about attachment to monetary reward, but it's also complex, Mark. So you shouldn't undermine anything that's about abusive. So we're not saying that accepting defeat, offering victory, patience. In fact, actually, in the summary, it's hard. Geshe says, I can't remember what he says in the end, isn't it? There's something that he says that it can be challenging and difficult, isn't it? And practicing patience. So don't underestimate, as in Helen, I think that's quite important as well, isn't it? If you've got some really challenging, if you're in a work environment and you've got someone who's more senior, who's behaving really badly, where you can't leave, can you? And if you're in a working environment in an office with someone, which I've been in the past, that's really challenging, isn't it? It's really challenging to think, when you're being bullied, that's your karma, because you're feeling really miserable and you're really unhappy. Oh, I don't know how to answer this, actually. I've just got all sidetracked with everyone. But I think, Mark, don't give yourself a hard time. Don't give yourself a hard time, and Eddie's going to give a better answer, and then he's going to pass to Talopa.
Yeah, I think it's quite common when, that's a common question that people say. I've been nice and kind, and people take the, but it's not like Geshe says in here, doesn't he? It's not wise, because they're creating terrible causes for themselves. So you're enabling them to create terrible causes for themselves. If you're enabling people to you're just like letting people bully you, or letting people steal off you, or letting people do whatever, they're creating terrible causes for themselves. Bad karma, do you know? So there's nothing, you know, it's not helpful to do that for people, is it? You know, and a similar thing, how you've ended up here. I moved in where my mate got split up with his missus, you know, and I got kicked out of a flat, and we ended up in a flat together for a year. He was a really angry guy at times, especially when his missus had just had an affair behind his back, you know, and I used to drink a lot and take a lot of substances, really. I was always trying to stop that, and I moved in with my mate, and he was a nightmare, like a nightmare, you know. And I thought, I've got to get it, you know. But we were stuck in it for a year. I thought, I've got to like find, and I had a book on Buddhism. I've got to find a Buddhist centre, and I've come here, found this place, and he could be my spiritual guide, because through his behaviour, I quit things I was trying to quit for years, and come here, you know. So, like, I don't hold any bitterness towards him at all. In fact, he might be my spiritual guide in disguise, you know. Who knows, do you know? So I think thinking like that, and the benefits of that relationship that you had, you're here now, you know. So that's fantastic, isn't it? That could stop you feeling bitterness and anger and lingering resentment and all that, because you don't know the benefits of that. Incredible, you know, really. So it's another thing.
Now, just to answer Helen's question, I think you just know yourself. No one else can tell you. I just reminded when I used to play rugby. I was very happy doing that. But over time, I began to be less happy. And eventually I would wake up on a Saturday morning and hope it was raining and the match would be postponed. So I knew that was the time to stop, because I wasn't enjoying it anymore. And so, yeah, we can just ask ourselves, what do you want to do with your time? Do you want to continue with a situation you're not happy in, or do something else? But only you can know that, the answer to that. Yeah, this is a very individual thing. But again, it comes back also in the case of Buddhist practice to this mind of faith and what you aspire to. And if we strengthen things like bodhisattva vows, then your aspirations increase, and so it becomes easier to make decisions that lead us in correct direction. Yeah. So one of the things that we could do is just look at the bodhicitta precepts. If we've taken bodhisattva vows, or just renew our vows. Yeah, no.
There's one thing that when I first come to the centre, I read in a book in Waterstones, and I'd only been to the centre once, and I thought, I'll go and buy a few little books about this Buddhist fella. And I read, it was just little sayings, because I thought, I'm not reading a big convoluted thing, because I'm dyslexic and it won't stay with my brain, but this has always stayed with me. And in the book it said, into every life comes a measure of suffering. It's sometimes this that awakens us. So like you were saying, Mark, and like you're saying, Helen, sometimes we have to, use that suffering in a positive way and think, that's my teacher. I can use it to, it's brought me here. Like, I know, like I come here because my mind was disturbed. And that's when I'm teaching, I always think, people come into the centre for refuge. We're a full source of refuge. Penda used to give the analogy like we're like a ship floating through samsara, picking and drowning people out to sea. And I love that analogy because it's what we're like, you know, we are that refuge. So again, Helen, don't think that you've have to deal with that on your own. Like, I know we're discussing it in class now, but you've got plenty of people around in our community that you could maybe have a more deeper, you know, discussion and use Dharma, use Sangha to help us. We think we forget that sometimes. We go, say, sit down and meditate or sit down and read a book. But then I think sometimes we forget the Sangha here as well, who've been through similar situations, like we've all just said here. So we can use them as well to talk to help. Doesn't mean say you have to come to someone who's ordained or anything, just someone that you connect with in the group and just think, I want to have a little chat about that. I wonder if they can have a coffee or something. And use our Sangha as well. That's important.
Any other questions? We have 12 steps of recovery in our world, all over the globe. The 11th step talks of prayer and meditation. I was told I was not meditating correctly, so he told me to go to the Buddhist centre and find out how to meditate. So he criticised and offered the victory to him for making me come out of my comfort zone. He's right. And here you are now, on FP and a, you know, an active member of the community and good practitioner, an amazing practitioner. Thank you, Linda. Hey, I hope your supervisor isn't watching, by the way, Liz. You're shocking. If you are, you're shocking.
She's got friends.
She's got friends. Okay. Thanks very much, everyone.
Through the virtues I have collected, by practicing the stages of the path, may all living beings find the opportunity to practice in the same way. May everyone experience the happiness of humans and gods, and quickly attain enlightenment, so that samsara is finally extinguished. So that the tradition of Jai Sankapa, the king of the Dhamma, may flourish. May all obstacles be pacified, and may all favorable conditions abound. Through the two collections of myself and others, gathered throughout the three times, may the doctrine of Conqueror Losandrapa flourish forevermore. Crown ornament of the scholars of the Lord of the Snows, you are Buddha Shakyamuni Vajradhara, the source of all attainment. Avalokiteshvara, the treasury of unobservable compassion. Manjushri, the supreme stainless wisdom. And Vajrapani, the destroyer of the hordes of Maras. O venerable Guru Buddha, synthesis of all issues, with my body, speech, and mind, respectfully I make request. Please grant your blessings to ripen and liberate myself and others, and bestow the common and supreme attainments. Tsongkhapa, crown ornament of the scholars of the land of the snows, pure Buddha Shakyamuni and Vajradhara, the source of all attainments. Avalokiteshvara, the treasury of unobservable compassion. Manjushri, the supreme stainless wisdom. And Vajrapani, the destroyer of the hordes of Maras. O venerable Guru Buddha, synthesis of all issues, with my body, speech, and mind, respectfully I make request. Please grant your blessings to ripen and liberate myself and others, and bestow the common and supreme attainments. Tsongkhapa, crown ornament of the scholars of the land of the snows, pure Buddha Shakyamuni and Vajradhara, the source of all attainments. Avalokiteshvara, the treasury of unobservable compassion. Manjushri, the supreme stainless wisdom. And Vajrapani, the destroyer of the hordes of Maras. O venerable Guru Buddha, synthesis of all issues, with my body, speech, and mind, respectfully I make request. Please grant your blessings to ripen and liberate myself and others, and bestow the common and supreme
We're talking about love this evening. On the 4th of May, we're having the empowerment of Buddha Maitreya, the Buddha of love. So also we've got Leslie, who's coming to give a half-day course on Saturday the 6th of April on letting go. Letting go. So let go of all the things that are not conducive to your happiness. And on this Saturday coming, we're going to have Quick Path for anybody who wants to come. Or if you have a highest yoga tantra empowerment, or if you have the intention to have a highest yoga tantra empowerment. Sorry? Sorry? It's been changed. It's not running, yes. 8 o'clock, yes. Okay.